I do have a segment I want to get to though called "Hear Me Out," and this is me defending, not defending, but this is just hear me out. Okay, this is all it is. Hear me out. This is in vein of Gladiator 2,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't think needed a sequel, but the trailer completely changed my mind, and I thought that I'd give it a shot to pitch my own requel. It's very Scarface inspired. I've been thinking about this because a remake is inevitable. It is
Mm-hmm.
inevitable for any big iconic movie. Just wait until they remake Rocky. Just wait until they remake Taxi Driver. I mean, kind of is already Joker, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been happening since the dawn of cinema. This has happened with The Mummy. The Mummy that we grew up with in the 90s is a remake of that old black and white film.
Yep.
You know? So, with that being said, I don't think remakes and reboots are a bad thing. It's just about how you make them. The reason why The Mummy was so popular is because they're like, okay, we're going to keep the horror, but we're going to make it an action movie. We're going to make it a swashbuckling adventure.
Mm-hmm.
They added their own twist to it.
Oh.
They added their own twist to it. And you good?
Yeah, I'm fine. I was petting her too. I was like, couldn't keep calm, and she's just like, yeet. I'm like, oh, thanks, Callie. Thanks.
Yeah. But back to what I was saying. Reboots and remakes aren't a bad thing. Just embrace what made the first film iconic and what was so loved and adored about it, but do your own thing. And that's where I think a Scarface remake can be actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it properly. And what I'm thinking is you make Scarface a sequel to the original. You make Tony Montana this fictitious, not fictitious, but in this world, he was this real life gangster that thrived and inevitably becomes almost like an idol to a lot of the modern gangsters. And I think taking that idea would be so important in that movie, being like, we acknowledge how iconic this movie is, but this is something new, but we're paying homage to it, right? And I think we all know Tony is kind of a very Hispanic name.
Yeah.
Right? So you can go Cuban, you can go Puerto Rican, you can go Mexican, but you have these people, and it's almost like an allegory on how people already kind of idolize Tony Montana to this day as a fictional character.
Mm-hmm.
So you can put that into a real world. Like, all these people want the American dream, the dream that Tony Montana got and inevitably died because of.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something to be said about history repeating itself again because we don't learn from our mistakes. I think that's where this remake can shine. I think that's what you have to do in order for it to be successful. Because if you just remake it and you make this is a guy named Tony Montana from Mexico, which is probably what they're going to do, then you kind of lose a little bit of... You don't lose a little bit. You lose a lot of the fans.
Yeah.
This movie is beloved and iconic. If you do it in a way that is respectful, I guarantee you people are going to love this new iteration. You know?
You sold me, bro.
You
sold me.
Like, what do you think about that?
I think it's awesome. Did you ever play the Scarface game?
I did, actually.
The Scarface game is kind of a little similar. It's obviously you play as Tony Montana as it is, but in this alternate universe, essentially, in the game, you turn around and you kill the guy. But you do start back from scratch. And again, I guess a lot of the same premise would apply to this movie.
Yeah.
You know, obviously that one is you're playing as the same character, but you're building up an empire and you're taking over Miami. But my question would be, when would you set it? What would be the time period? How much of a time jump would there actually be?
I think it'd be a significant time jump. I would have it be present day, and I would have it be like Tony Montana was like John Gotti. He was this character that is so prevalent even in pop culture history. There's T-shirts of this guy. You know what I'm saying? Which is very important to like what people feel about him now as a fictitious character. So that would be my go about. I would also kind of have his sister be in it minorly. Like maybe she moved away from Miami and in a way kind of found another version of Tony, and she's reminded of this man craving power. Maybe she really liked him at first as like a young man who's in her neighborhood or something.
Yeah.
And I just think there's so much there,
I
untapped
agree.
potential that you could do that honors Scarface, but does its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does he end up in a puddle of his blood, by the end of the movie,
Yeah.
or does he end up alone? I would actually have it end very akin to like Godfather 2. Spoiler alert, I don't even know if you're gonna watch it, but like
But which one's the good one?
the first one.
So I don't need to watch the second one.
You don't need to watch
Okay,
the
go
second
ahead.
one. But basically, like, he had to kill his brother. He's all alone. A good majority of his family's dead, and he's kind of just sitting down at the dinner table, smoking a cigarette, and just that's the price of being in that life. If you don't live, you end up if you don't die, you end up alone, inevitably waiting for your demise. When it's only a matter of when.
Yeah.
And if you end the film like that, you kind of just give the audience like, damn, dude. You don't want to glorify this lifestyle, but you want to show the real depiction of it. It's a lonely life.
Yeah.
The people you love around you can die, and you'll be left with nothing. Then what's all that money for?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way I would
I'm
tackle it.
sold.
That's my pitch.
Yeah, I'm all in for it. I think that's super fucking badass. One thing that made me think of this is, so have you ever played Grand Theft Auto Vice City?
Like, just driving around killing people.
Yeah, but it's kind of Scarface-esque. Like, it's very in that same area. It's very inspired by that. That game now, right? It was released in like it was like in 2007, I think.
Okay.
So that time jump from 84 to 2007, that was 16 years. That's the same time jump as if we made a movie depiction of 2004. Think about how much of how distinct the 80s were. What that culture essentially looked like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the culture of the 90s looked like. But the culture from the 2000s to the 2010s is very much like jeans and you know what I mean, like punk rock. I think it's just super interesting because from like 2010 to now, there hasn't really been too much of a change.
Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting that in like the 80s was such a vastly different thing to just even what it was in like 2007.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also think one of the most important things is to remember that anybody that is going to play the new Tony Montana, and I wouldn't outright call him Tony Montana, but I would still have him keep the name Tony as like.
Would you have him be like a descendant?
I thought about that, but then I said no. Because I like the idea of it inspiring someone else. Because I like the idea of his bloodline just completely dying out. Because that's that's more realistic.
Yeah.
And maybe the only one left of the Montana lineage is his sister. And she has to relive seeing a modern day retelling of her brother's story. And I think there's something to be said. I think we also have to remember he'd also still be an immigrant who came from poor, saw the lavish lifestyle, and said, I want that. So I think there's so much you can do, and like I said, a lot of untapped potential. You just have to go about it the right way, and that's how you can make a proper remake or a proper requel. That's how you do it.
I'm in agreement, bro.
Like the Nightmare on Elm Street is another one that needs something bad.
Would you, if you did a Nightmare on Elm Street, would you make it modern or would you make it again like a period piece essentially?
Oh Jesus!
I think she saw something. Yeah, there's like something flying around, terrifying us today.
Yeah. I would probably have flashbacks to back in the day.
Okay.
And then I would have.
So you do like jump from the past to the present to the present to the past.
Yeah, I would want flashbacks to when they're kids, but it would be their parents' flashbacks. I would actually have
so it'd be like it too.
Yes, but I wouldn't make the teens the primary focus. Maybe the secondary focus. I'd have the parents. I think there's a really good horror movie of parents trying to save their kids, but nothing they can really do about it, and their past coming back to haunt them. I think that's a really good basis for a Nightmare on Elm Street prequel, I guess, or just a flat out reboot. Because then I would have a sequel just be the teens.
The reboot that I want.
We've done it all with the teens.
The reboot I want is Jason versus Freddy again.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
I just want balls to the wall superhero action, but with blood and mayhem.
Oh, God, it's so nice. Because they were going to make a sequel. And
I did hear about that.
Do you know what the sequel was?
No, I don't.
The sequel was Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. My boy Ash Williams was going to be in it.
Evil Dead?
Yeah. And it was going to be that...
How does this not get greenlit?
Yeah, dude, it was going to be that Freddy got a hold of the Book of the Dead, and he's using that. And, yeah, dude, the second... I mean, some of it's fucking weird. Yeah. That script is very 2000s of that time. It's fucking weird, because Ash does come off weird. It wasn't a good script, and the comic is interesting, because just based off the premise, but... You know,
so there's a comic of this.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's a sequel to that, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash 2, where like Freddy basically takes over the entire world with the Book of the Dead.
That sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah, dude. I mean, some of the action sequences are pretty cool.
Huh?
I just think with a huge rewrite, it'd be a really good movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Freddy versus Jason isn't a good movie though.
No, it's not. It's just nostalgic.
Fun. It's fun and
nostalgic for it. It's just a fun movie, and I would be interested. I haven't watched it in fucking years, like a very long time. So I would be very interested to go back and watch it and see just like how bad it really is.
You should, and you'll be like, dude, this movie's bad. It's bad. We forget that this is a line where Freddy tells a black girl, "Hey, how sweet, dark meat," and you're just like, damn, bro. Okay. That's where we're going. You know?
Yeah.
And then there is one kind of cool scene, though, where, like, Jason kills someone who is about to essay someone.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So,
it's in the cornfield, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that part.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he still killed the poor girl anyway. You know?
She's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, she was asleep. No, she was asleep, and that's why she got killed there, too. That's what I meant. Yeah,
you're jogging a memory now, because she was in Freddy's dream, right?
Yeah. And then when he killed her, she fucking disappeared from his dream and shit.
Yeah.
I think that's the best Freddy vs. Jason movie we could have gotten at that time.
I agree.
To be honest.
The movies in the 2000s, unless it was like a comedy, were not the best.
Dude, even the comedy from back in the day is crazy. I was getting my hair cut, and they put on Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, I have not.
It's Rob Schneider, where he plays a prostitute, a male prostitute, and some of the shit he does is so cringe, bro. There's a bit because he goes to this aquarium to get fish and shit, and there's like this hot girl he constantly badgers to try and get her to get out with him and to go out with him, and she won't. And he's coming off creepy too. And then he'll be like, okay, well, can I get some sea snails then? And it's this big tub, and she's wearing a white t-shirt. She has to reach all the way down, and her boobs get wet, so she comes back up, and she's like nipping. And he just gets her to do that each time just so he can see her boobs. And I'm like...
Didn't age well?
Did not age well, bro. It did not age well.
Yeah.
Especially since that gal was on she's on Grimm, and I know her from that show, so I'm like, this is so weird seeing you like this when you were young doing any role you could.
Yeah.
Oh man. But that's pretty much it. I think that's all we have today.
That's a good place to end the episode. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing. We greatly appreciate it.
Toodles.
We post every week.
That too.
Yeah. Peace.